So my name is Abdallah Ekow Manuar Smith, and I'm a science fiction writer, specifically African Futurism. So how I got involved in this was pretty much looking at the content that was out there in terms of African science fantasy, if you would like to call it. And what I found was that it was disconnected to what was really going on today. It was about fantasy, it was mostly about female characters having awesome powers and being indestructible, which, I can understand, but I think it's left me wanting something that was closer to reality and closer to the problems that we are facing today on our continent, in terms of social, political, in terms of economic, and in terms of inequality. So these are some of the things that were influencing the reasons why I got into it, and then also being able to tell our own narratives. As at the time when I really started to writing seriously, Black Panther had come out, and obviously I refused to watch it, and as I have still not watched it, because for me it was the highest form of tokenism, the point at which our culture is now being packaged and wrapped to be sold off and made millions of, and by the white man industry. So yeah, these are some of the things that were influencing my decision to get into the sci-fi African futurist genre. So a challenge I have faced in writing is time, structure, space, limits, words, narrative, climax, ending, beginning, main characters. All of these are challenges whenever somebody begins the creative storytelling process. My Blue-Eyed Baby, a science fiction short story I'm working on currently, with all of these elements, of course, in it. Questions of time, scale, question of main characters, question of how do you tell this story in this very short amount of time, but also have this time in which you tell the story within being spanning a number of years. So this is always a challenge for any writer, for any creative, the beginning and then the end. So with My Blue-Eyed Baby, it starts off with an investigation, an inquiry by a couple into how they can modify their baby to express certain traits, that of lush brown skin, blue eyes, blonde hair. Because in this sci-fi world, the potential or the ability to do this genetic intervention is possible through this doctor's capabilities. Scene 1. Scene 2 is from the doctor's perspective. So now we are not seeing it from the couple inquiring. We are now seeing from the doctor receiving the information and then absorbing it and having this debate in his mind. Because now the doctor has this power that has made him godlike. And he sees himself above, in some circumstances, the people in which he's serving. Anybody who's sitting behind the counter serving customers will always feel like that, because customers are idiots. In these more denser conversations about identity, about skin tone, skin color, there's a lot of seriousness attached to it. So in this story, I wanted it to be a sort of comedic element to it. But I think one of the things you realize about writing comedy is to not write to be funny. You write for it to be deadly serious, and then in that clash of the absurdity with how serious and quickly unserious it becomes, you get the comedy. So it became an issue of being conscious about not being funny in the storytelling, because that will shine through and then the person will not end up laughing genuinely. So rather it became an effort to just tell the story as it is and let the absurdities of the situations clash with how we are looking and reading the story, and then you get the comedy out of these conflicts of how we perceive or how we are looking at the story and the characters and the decisions they're making, rather than forcing it out in the way the story is written. At what time did I realize I was having problems with the comedic aspect? I think it was just a general sense that was hanging over me throughout the story. It wasn't at any point in time, just over the course of the story and how it was taking place. This was hanging over my head. So being aware of it, or trying to waft it away, that was always there. So sort of just letting go of being that was the way I could overcome the fog or the cloud, or however you want to describe it.
Was there like a eureka moment where you were like, okay, that's how I do it?
More like several small eureka moments. It's like you in your mind, you're having a conversation with yourself, and then it poses this idea, okay, why don't we do like this? And then you mull it over, and then slowly it begins to circulate in your mind, and then eventually it tries to play itself out in the story. So in your mind, you're recrafting the story and telling it a different way, and then you're saying, okay, now that's more funny than if I did it like this. And that's how it plays out. So it's sort of these smaller evolutions of eureka moments that then is translated to what you end up writing.